Hello, Miss. My name is Fauzi Akbar Surahman, and this is my cross-cultural presentation text. Intercultural communication. What is intercultural communication? Intercultural communication means communicating between people who come from different cultural backgrounds. It's not only about using different languages, but also about understanding how culture influences the way people speak, behave, and interpret messages. For example, some cultures are very direct. They say exactly what they mean, while others are more indirect and polite, avoiding words that might offend someone. So, intercultural communication is not just about what we say, but also how we say it, depending on our culture. According to some of our and colleagues, 2017, intercultural communication is about recognizing how culture shapes our values, beliefs, and behavior in communication. Why it is important in today's globalized world? In today's world, intercultural communication is essential. Students, workers, and professionals often meet people from many different countries. If we can communicate effectively across cultures, we can build strong relationships, avoid conflict, and succeed globally. For example, in international companies like Google or Toyota, employees come from many different cultures. They have to learn to cooperate and understand each other's way of speaking, working, and showing respect. Without intercultural understanding, teamwork can easily fail. Common challenges in intercultural communication. However, communicating across cultures is not always easy. There are several challenges we often face. First, language barriers. Different words, ac- acce- accents, and idioms can easily cause confusion. For example, when an English speaker says break a leg, it means good luck. But someone from another culture might take it literally and get confused. Second, nonverbal misunderstandings. A simple gesture can have opposite meanings. Nodding your head means yes in many countries, but in some places like Greece or Bulgaria, it actually means no. Common challenges in intercultural communication. Third, stereotypes and prejudice. Sometimes people assume that everyone from one culture behaves the same way. For instance, believing that all Westerners are too direct or that all Asians are shy, these are stereotypes that can block real understanding. Finally, communication style differences. Some cultures, such as Japan or Indonesia, are high context cultures. They communicate indirectly, and people need to understand the hidden meaning behind words. Others, like the US or Germany, are low context. They speak directly and expect clear answers. When these two meet, misunderstandings often happen. Real life example, Walmart in Germany. A good real life example is Walmart's failure in Germany. In the 1990s, Walmart tried to expand its American style business into Germany. They told employees to smile at customers and start the day with a company cheer. But German customers found the smiling strange and uncomfortable. They thought it was fake. The cultural difference made Walmart unpopular, and the company finally left the German market in 2006. This case shows how not understanding cultural differences can lead to failure, even for a big company. Conclusion: intercultural communication teaches us to go beyond our own cultural perspective. It helps us listen, respect, and adapt to others' communication styles. In a global world where diversity is normal, the ability to communicate across cultures is not just a soft skill. It is a core requirement for success in education, business, and everyday life. The relationship between language and culture. Introduction. Language and culture are like two sides of the same coin. Language expresses the thoughts, beliefs, and traditions of a culture, while culture shapes how language is used and understood. In other words, the way we speak reflects who we are and what our community values. According to Edward Sapir, 1921, language is a guide to social reality. This idea developed into the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which suggests that language influences how people perceive the world. For example, people who speak different languages may notice or describe the same thing differently because their languages organize reality in unique ways. How language reflects and shapes culture. Language shows what is important in a culture. For example, the Inuit people in the Arctic have many different words for snow, reflecting how central snow is to their environment. In Indonesian, there are various terms for addressing older people politely, such as bapak, ibu, kak, or mas, showing respect and hierarchy in social relations. In English, using please, thank you, and sorry frequently shows the cultural value of individual politeness and personal responsibility. At the same time, language also shapes how people think. When a culture values politeness and harmony, the language develops many indirect expressions. For example, instead of saying you're wrong, Indonesians might say, maybe we can try another way. This reflects cultural respect for others' feelings. Expressions of values, politeness, and identity. A. Values. Language expresses what a culture values. In American culture, people value freedom of speech, so direct opinions are appreciated. In contrast, many Asian cultures value harmony and group respect, so people avoid direct confrontation. B. Politeness. Japanese uses a complex honorific system, keigo. It changes verbs and vocabulary depending on the listener's status. For example, to eat can be taberu, neutral, or esiagaru, honorific. This linguistic system shows deep cultural respect and hierarchy. C. Identity. Language reflects identity. When people use local languages or dialects, they show pride in their heritage. For example, speaking Javanese or Sundanese in Indonesia can express cultural belonging and solidarity among people from the same region. Misunderstandings in cultural language use. Because language and culture are connected, misunderstanding cultural language use often leads to miscommunication. Here are a few examples. Direct versus indirect speech. An American manager might ask, "Can you finish this today?" expecting a clear yes or no. An Indonesian employee might answer, "I'll try," which is polite but actually means probably not. The, the manager might misunderstand this as agreement, formality, and respect. In English, it's normal to call your teacher Mr. Smith. In Indonesian or Japanese culture, not using a title like Pak, Bu, or Sensei can be seen as rude. Tone and emotion. Some cultures speak with louder voices and expressive gestures. For example, Italians, Arabs, others speak softly. Example, Japanese, Thai. Without cultural awareness, these differences might be misinterpreted as anger or shyness. Real life example, Japanese and American business communication. In Japanese business culture, people rarely say no directly to avoid embarrassment. Instead, they use phrases like "that might be difficult" or "we will think about it." An American business person might not realize this means rejection and continue expecting agreement. This small linguistic misunderstanding can lead to business mistakes or damaged relationships. Therefore, understanding the cultural meaning behind language is vital in international communication. Conclusion, language and culture are deeply interconnected. Language reflects a society's history, values, and worldwide, while culture shapes how language is used to express ideas, emotions, and social relationships. When we understand this connection, we can communicate more effectively, avoid cultural misunderstandings, and appreciate the diversity of human expression. As global citizens, learning a language means also learning the culture behind it. Only then can we truly connect with people beyond words. Case study 1. Cultural barriers. 1. Main cultural barriers using house state and hall. The main issues arise from different communication styles and cultural values. Germany, low context, low power distance, individualistic, prefers direct, explicit feedback, and open discussion. Japan and Indonesia, high context, high power distance, collectivistic, prefer indirect communication, politeness, and harmony. As a result, the German manager's direct feedback feels rude to the Japanese and Indonesian members, while their silence or avoidance seems uncooperative to the German side. Supporting data hosted insights. These scores show how show why Germans communicate directly, while Japanese and Indonesians avoid confrontation to maintain harmony. Country Germany has power distance 35 low. In Japan 54 moderate and Indonesia 78 high. Individualism. Germany 67 high, Japan 46 medium, Indonesia 14 low. Context style, Germany low context, Japan high context, Indonesia high context. Effects on teamwork and decisions. Cultural misunderstanding leads to misinterpreted silence as agreement, reduced trust and motivation, delayed decisions, and missed deadlines. Hidden conflict due to indirect communication. Strategies to overcome barriers. Intercultural training to build awareness of communication styles. Clear communication rules. Example, written summaries, turn taking in meetings. Inclusive leadership that invites input from all members and encourages respectful feedback. Case study 2, cross-cultural communication for business. Analysis of communication failure. The failure occurred because Tropical Craft's Indonesian marketing team used a collectivist and emotional communication style, while European audiences prefer a more individualistic and rational approach. The campaigns focus on family and community values central to Indonesian culture, did not resonate with Europeans, who often value independence, functionality, professionalism, and advertising. Supporting data slash evidence. According to Hofstede Insights 2023, Indonesia high collectivism individualism score 14, high context culture. Europe example Germany, UK, Netherlands, high individualism 60, 80, low context culture. Research on advertising styles shows that Asian ads emphasize emotions, family, and harmony, while European ads focus on facts, product quality, and personal benefits. De Moy and Hofstede 2010. Cultural values influence. Collectivism versus individualism. Indonesia's collectivist culture values togetherness. Indonesia's collectivist culture values togetherness and emotional storytelling. European consumers, being individualistic, respond better to messages highlighting personal choice and product performance. High versus low context communication. Indonesian ads rely on symbolism and emotion high context, while European audiences prefer clear, direct information, low context. The emotional tone was therefore seen as unprofessional. Revised marketing strategy. Emphasize product quality and design. Highlight craftsmanship, durability, and eco-friendly materials rather than family themes. Use direct and factual communication. Include product specifications, pricing, and testimonials. Depth visuals and tone. Use minimalist modern designs with professional language to appeal to European tastes. Case study 3. Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal issues identified the misunderstanding occurred due to differences in time perception and personal space. The American representative checked his watch often, showing concern for punctuality and kept a large distance, typical US norm. The Arab client viewed these behaviors as impatience and disrespect. since Arab cultures value relationship building and close physical proximity during conversations. Supporting data slash evidence. According to Hall's cultural dimensions, the US is a monochronic culture. Time is linear and schedules are strictly followed. The Arab world is polychronic. Time is flexible and personal interaction takes priority over strict scheduling. Research Hall 1976, Mayer 2014 also shows Americans maintain about 60-90 centimeter of personal space, centimeters of personal space in in business settings. Arabs prefer closer distance, 30-45 centimeters, and frequent eye contact to build trust. Cultural differences in nonverbal cultural differences in non cultural differences in nonverbal cultural differences in nonverbal signals. Time. Americans equate punctuality with professionalism. Arabs see flexibility. Arabs see flexibility as a sign of respect for relationships. Space Americans prefer physical distance. Arabs use closeness to express sincerity and connection. Eye contact and gestures. Arabs interpret steady eye contact as confidence, while Americans may see prolonged eye contact as uncomfortable. These differences affect trust and rapport, crucial for successful business negotiations. Recommended strategies. Learn cultural norms before meetings, example greetings, distance, time orientation. Be observant and adaptable to the other party's nonverbal cues. Prioritize relationship building early in Arab contexts rather than rushing to business. Avoid time pressure signals like checking the watch, show patience and attentiveness. That's it from me, miss. Thank you very much.